can definitely be captured by Google Maps. If you want to check, just go on Google Maps and find your home address. The satellite might have captured your house and you walking your dog out front. And of course, sometimes horrifying things on Earth are accidentally captured without anyone realizing it. Today, we're going to explore some Google Maps photos that contain horrifying truths. I've got your back.
1. Man stuck in toilet.
Yo, what the heck? I thought the first thing I would see was something scary, like a kidnapping, but look what we have here. A man with his head stuck in a toilet. It looks like a joke. This video will show you the picture.
Google Earth iceberg. First we got the man stuck in a toilet. So Google Maps sometimes goes inside buildings, and this location is kind of the most known example of that. But is this actually a human that has done this while coincidentally Google filmed them? So what's actually behind this is a marketing company that was trying to do some publicity stunt, and that's why they put some art in their office. Missing lady. So this street view picture was the last time this old woman was ever seen alive. So what happened is she had dementia, went missing, triggering a pretty big search operation. Well, police didn't find her for months, so they had to give up with the theory that she fell into a nearby river, until one police officer randomly checked out Google Maps, and it seems that Google caught the entire thing. In the end, unfortunately, she was found dead, and this photo led them to find her pretty close to her home after she apparently walked off to her neighbor's garden. What tragically happened was that she entered a rather less accessible forest, probably fell and couldn't get back up, and for some reason, police forgot to check that forest when they initially searched.
2. Donkey killed by Google car.
Basically, the photos on Google Maps are taken by a car, and this car accidentally ran over a donkey, causing it to roll onto the ground, and Google itself provided the evidence against itself. That's funny.
Google Earth iceberg. We got the donkey killed by Google's car. This one is referring to if you go to this road in Botswana, you eventually see this donkey and it kind of looks like you hit it with your car. This has been around for a while, so people were accusing Google of actually hitting a donkey with their Google Street View car. So in 2013, Google ended up releasing an official statement where they released extra pictures of the donkey encounter, and it turns out they didn't actually hit the donkey. The donkey just kind of happened to roll over and take a dust bath at a very specific time. Ice ship. This entry is referring to what looks like a frozen ship on an island near Antarctica, which you can still see when you go back in time. The ship doesn't appear to match with any known vessels that went undocumented. Maybe it's someone's private yacht, or the government lost a ship but decided to keep it classified. Even the website Snopes, that is dedicated to debunking conspiracy theories, doesn't offer a great explanation for this. One could argue it's just some type of ice formation, but at the same time, it's 400 feet long and looks like a ship.
By the way, be careful when crossing the road, my dear friends. Love you.
3. Tower of Silence.
People started noticing these big round fortress-looking structures in India. At first, nobody knew what they were, but when you zoom in, you can literally see bodies laying there. That sounds creepy, right?
So people were on Google Earth and started noticing these big, round, fortress-looking things in India. At first, nobody knew what they were, but when you zoom in, you can literally see bodies just laying there. Creepy, right? Turns out, they're called Towers of Silence. They come from the Zoroastrian faith, one of the oldest religions in the world, and the Parsi community still practices it. Basically, they believe you can't bury bodies in the ground or burn them because earth and fire are sacred. So instead, they leave the body out in the open, the sun dries it, and vultures come in and take care of the rest. And here's the wild part. For them, it's actually seen as eco-friendly and even charitable because nothing goes to waste. But when you look at these towers on Google Earth, you'll sometimes see these red patches inside, and yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. Most of these places are now closed off to outsiders, which makes it even more mysterious. And honestly, while the tradition makes sense for their culture, if you're not used to it, it looks straight up haunting. So now I gotta ask, would you consider something like this eco-friendly and smart, or is it way too creepy for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Although this custom is considered eco-friendly and even charitable, because nothing goes to waste, I was truly obsessed when I saw those red patches from the satellite. Most of these places are now closed off to outsiders, which only adds to the mystery. Even if you paid me $1 million, I couldn't get used to this.
4. Teen on Google Map.
This is truly horrifying because it involves a real human corpse that was captured by Google Map. But if you search now, you won't find it because Google has already deleted it. That makes sense. It was too terrifying.
Google Earth iceberg. Teen murdered. In 2009, a 14-year-old boy by the name of Jose Barrera was murdered in Richmond, California. There's this high-crime residential area in Richmond, California that's sometimes called the Iron Triangle, and this was where he was murdered. The reason this is on this iceberg is because Google Maps satellites managed to capture Jose Barrera's body being left by some train tracks, but if you try and check this spot on Google Maps now, it's been updated and you can't find his body there anymore. It was pretty ridiculous though, because you could see Jose Barrera laying there. The picture even captures the very moment that police officers pull up to the scene. Detroit house. So at first glance, there's this wonderful family home in Detroit with a woman even waving towards Google. But if you recheck a few years later, it's not only abandoned like many houses in Detroit, but also burned down and covered in all kinds of weird stuff. A few years later, it's completely gone.
This makes me think that we are truly always being watched by satellites. Yet there are still unsolved cases. But please don't do anything bad, guys. We are always being watched.
5. Google Map horror game.
The horror game is called Map Friend. Basically, it plays like a super old school version of Google Maps. You click a spot, look around, but then, the program starts glitching, and you get the feeling that something bad is going on behind the scenes.
There's a Google Maps horror game and it has a terrifying secret. Let's talk about the horror game called Map Friend. I have a full playthrough of this plus 2 other mystery horror games on my channel, but we're going to talk about the full game here and the secret at the end. Basically, this game plays like a super old school version of Google Maps. Click a spot, look around, that's it. And as you click into new spots, you start to learn about the surrounding areas. Nothing seems weird yet. Then the program starts to have problems. It's glitching and you get the feeling that there's something bad going on behind the scenes. At the end of the game, strange coordinates get entered into the search bar, and it brings you to an airplane? A downed airplane. What is this? Well, credit to Jinxheart in the itch.io comments section, I think they cracked it. They entered the coordinates into Google, and it led them to this. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, the deadliest case of a plane disappearance ever. To this day, this disappearance, as far as I know, remains a mystery. It took off on March 8th, 2014, and 40 minutes later, gone from radar detection. We've had some debris wash up in the Indian Ocean in 2015 and 2016, but that is basically it. So did this creepy Google Maps program find it? I'll leave that up to you.
How could an independent horror game contain the coordinates of a plane that disappeared in 2014? A disappearance that still has no answer. Did this creepy Google Maps program find MH370?
6. Criminals exposed by Google Map.
Have you ever thought that the Google Street View car driving around could be a secret detective? I am truly amazed by Google's ability to snoop. Today, we are going to look at crimes and mysteries that have been exposed by Google Maps and Google Earth. From fugitives who lived unnoticed for 20 years, to missing people found after decades thanks to a simple satellite photo.
Here are some crimes that were solved by Google Maps. So an Italian fugitive escaped prison and lived unnoticed in Spain for 20 years until a Google streetcar captured him standing outside of a shop buying vegetables. A Florida man went missing in 1997 and it wasn't until 2019 when a land surveyor noticed his car in a lake on a Google Earth satellite photo. The same happened actually for a Michigan man as well, who was missing for 9 years until this photo emerged. A family in Oklahoma City had their house robbed with no leads, but 3 years later on a Google Street View, the perpetrators were caught on camera and later identified and imprisoned. A man in Oxford was caught stealing over 500 bikes thanks to this aerial satellite image of his backyard revealing the stash. Google was also responsible for snitching on 16,000 pool owners in Athens, Greece who failed to report ownership of a pool and had to pay a special tax on them. And finally, an Edinburgh man was caught axing another man in broad daylight, launching an internal investigation, but it ended up just being a prank. Pretty cool, right?
See? Google Maps doesn't just help you find directions. It's also the best police assistant. From catching an escaped prisoner buying vegetables to finding missing people after decades, nowhere is safe for criminals when Google is driving by. Do you think Google is invading our privacy? Or is this a great tool for safety? Leave your comments below.
7. Missing flight.
This photo captured a missing airplane, arguably its final photo and that of the unfortunate victims aboard. My deepest condolences.
Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. So this one refers to if you go to this remote region in Russia on Google Maps, you'll find a plane that some claim to be the missing MH370, the flight that just disappeared off civilian radar on its way from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing with 239 people on board in 2014. It seemingly left a path of destruction before coming to a stop in a crash-like emergency landing. It's an interesting story, but it's probably not what you think, because unsurprisingly, this isn't the plane in question, just simply because it happened just recently. In fact, it's a cargo plane that had a double engine failure. According to official data, all 7 crew members were able to evacuate, leaving the plane beyond repair. But where can you actually find MH370? So despite several conspiracy theories, there's actually just a certain region where it could be. Initial searches for the plane concentrated on the South China Sea. After it was determined that Flight 370 had turned to the west shortly after the transponder was switched off, search efforts moved to the Strait of Malacca and the Andaman Sea. After further research, on March 24th, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak announced that, based on analysis of the final signals, investigators had concluded that the flight crashed in a remote part of the Indian Ocean.
Do you like flying? Airplanes are said to be the safest means of transport because they must always be meticulously maintained for smooth operation. If they have even one small error, it can become something horrific. When a plane crash occurs, the survival rate is very small.
8. Kidnap on Google Map.
I found some strange photos on Google Maps. It looks like they are kidnapping someone. Watch the following video to see. Is there a person rolled up in that carpet? Is he being kidnapped, or is it just a prank? Does anyone know the truth? Please help me solve this.
9. Help on Google Map.
This is more serious. I think someone who knew they were being watched by Google Maps wrote the word help really large to be rescued. What happened? Watch the following video for a detailed explanation.
Google Maps help messages. In early 2025, one discovery on Google Maps in Los Angeles spread quickly online and became a viral mystery. In a rail yard near Dodger Stadium, the word help could be seen written again and again in giant letters. Nearby were other words, including federal and LAPD. Each letter had been carefully built using long pipes or large wooden boards. When people first noticed the writing, theories began to spread immediately. Some thought it was a real cry for help, maybe from people trapped or being forced to work. The fact that the writing was inside a Union Pacific rail yard fueled more suspicion. Los Angeles railways have a history of theft and crime, and some feared this was connected to organized trafficking or forced labor. People contacted the LAPD, who quickly went to check the site, and around the same time, a social media user visited the rail yard with a camera to film what it looked like from the ground. What he found changed everything. The rail yard was surrounded by homeless encampments, and even though the area was supposed to be fenced off, a large hole in the fence made it easy to enter. Local homeless residents explained that the writing wasn't a signal from victims at all. It was the work of another homeless man who had been creating these giant messages for years. The LAPD later confirmed this story. They said they had spoken to the man many times before and had even offered him both housing and mental health support, but he always refused.
What did that man ultimately want? Did he just write it for fun? Or was he truly having a mental health issue? In any case, he has attracted the attention of millions of people.
10. Giant creature on Google Earth.
This video features a giant creature deep in the ocean that looks like a megalodon. But as far as I know, that shark went extinct millions of years ago.
Creepiest things scientists have ever found on Google Earth. Scientists have found something scary on Google Images.
Well, during the initial investigation, the agent who was studying the swarm noticed something out in the water.
Okay, kind of a speck.
Yeah, well, at this resolution, it's a speck. When they zoomed in, though, they got this.
It's a little fuzzy, but I'd say that's a shark.
And not just any shark. If you look at this other satellite photo I brought, it was taken at the same resolution of a school bus yard in nearby Sao Paulo. Now, those are 40-foot buses, and when you compare them next to the first photo, I'd say that's a 70-foot shark.
All right, let's ask the obvious first question here. Do you really think that this is the same animal that was spotted 2 months earlier on the other side of the ocean at Cape Verde?
Look, that's a 3,000-mile trip, and, you know, it sounds like a lot, but great whites have been tracked going 1,500 miles in a month. So for Megalodon, that would be nothing. Also, sharks are known to revisit old haunts. Great whites, for instance, have been tagged leaving the east coast of the U.S., going on a random winding trip through the North Atlantic, and then returning a year later, almost to the day, to the same spot that they were tagged. So similar behavior from Megalodon makes complete sense.
If, indeed, this is Megalodon.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow so I can keep protecting you from these creepy mysteries. Thanks for watching, my dear friends. See you in the next video. Bye!